Happy Saturday, everybody. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of the Card Closet. Glad to have you here. So I've been doing a lot of sorting and organizing the last week or so, going through boxes, trying to figure out what can go in the cabinet, what would have to stay in boxes, etc. And I came across a couple boxes of non-sports cards, which I found quite interesting to run into and thought I would show them off to you guys today. I don't know if I've mentioned this about me, but I am definitely a fan of sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars especially. And so I've got a number of those cards here to show first. My father-in-law knew that I was into Star Trek, and he found these sets at a garage sale. And, well, he didn't know they were sets. He just bought a big old box of cards for me. And it turns out that they were complete sets of these little runs here. So there's the original motion picture, or the original series, Next Generation, and they are complete sets. And there were probably twice this many originally, but I traded them a few years back for some sports cards. So that's Next Generation. Some more Next Generation sets here. So if you're a Trekkie, you probably recognize these characters. I won't call them all out. But kind of fun to run into these. And then Deep Space Nine, which was one of my favorite series of Star Trek. I loved how in Deep Space Nine they were kind of fixed in one place. They couldn't go do a lot of exploring because they were on a station, so the action had to come to them. And so you really got some depth of characters, I thought, in that one. Here's a few more from that lot. I guess you would call these insert sets. Just plop them down here. Odo was one of my favorite characters. The actor that plays him, Rene Auberjonois, just died a year or two ago. Quark was another interesting character. If you know, you know. They even had refractor cards. Here's some Next Generation inserts. These Klingon inserts are actually worth $5 to $10 each. I looked them up. A lot of episodes come back to mind here, looking through these cards. Any other Trekkies out there? I have not gotten into the new Picard series, but actually haven't heard good things about it. So I haven't gotten into that one, but all the original series I watched every episode multiple times. I own a lot of them on DVD. Oh, here we go. An autograph card. Damon Bach, not a main character at all. Lee Ehrenberg as Damon Bach. I think he might have... There was some Ehrenberg that played Nog, who was a regular character on the show. So there we go. Also, speaking of Star Trek, I have some old Star Trek from my youth that I found here. Some of these were included in the purchase of my brother's collection many years ago when we were kids, so they have his initial written on them. But those are from the 70s, I believe. Let's do Star Wars next. There were a bunch of these cards in there as well. Don't know too much about these. Just that they're Star Wars, and I recognize a lot of the characters. They're pretty cool. Some of these might get into, outside the main movies, into that expanded universe, which was going for a while. And then when Disney took over, they took a lot of the books and a lot of the things that had been going on that expanded the universe. They declared them not part of the canon anymore. That way they were able to make more movies and not have to worry about keeping things in line. Here's a refractor of C-3PO and R2. Got some shine going on here. These are definitely more recent cards, obviously. Any Star Wars fans out there? It's a Han Solo refractor of some kind. These are all for trade if anybody wants to throw an offer out for them. I also found a stack of the original Star Wars cards from 1977, but these would be my doubles because I have almost a complete set in a binder. So I think I'll show those when I get to the point where I complete that set. When Star Wars came out, Hostess Bread produced a little set of Star Wars cards as well. Star Wars Hostess. And I guess we bought Hostess Bread at our house because I have a few of those. A few years later, Empire Strikes Back. This IG-88 character right here, he had a nice role in The Mandalorian. At least a unit like him was in The Mandalorian. Turns out that he was really, really cool. In Empire Strikes Back, all you do is you see him just standing there in a group of bounty hunters, but turns out he's pretty cool. All right. I'm really not old enough to remember this much on TV, but I remember getting the cards. Battlestar Galactica, the original show. I know that a few years back, like in the last 10, 15 years, the Battlestar Galactica came back out and they did a series for 6, 7 years. And I watched the first season of that, and it was pretty good. But it kind of got to the point where I was afraid, or not afraid, but it was predictable. So what I did is I jumped to the last episode of the last season and watched the last couple episodes just to see if they made it back to Earth or not. So these were out of, I forget what they were. They might have been a bread or something too, but the actual cards from Topps looked like this. I don't think I had anywhere near the complete set, but I remember I liked the cards that had Cylons on them. This guy right here, I think his name is Kirk Benedict, if I remember. He actually went on to the A-Team. So if you're old enough, maybe you're not old enough to remember Battlestar Galactica, but in the mid-'80s, he was on a show called the A-Team, and his character was called Face. Go a little faster here. Here's the Cylons. Used to like them. Any card with them on it. Of course, they were in the rerun series after the year 2000. Jane Seymour was in the show. She was Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, if you remember that show. And then let's move to Close Encounters. So I'm showing my age here, I know, with a lot of these cards, but Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Do any of you have these? This is a late 70s as well, and you know, they were very notorious for just kind of giving you a vague idea of what that ship looked like. I have been to Devil's Tower in eastern Wyoming. It's not too far from Rushmore if you're willing to take a couple hour drive west of Rushmore. You can actually go there. You can actually climb it too if you're a climber. A lot of people were climbing it. More Close Encounters. Anybody have these when you were a kid or seen these around? The condition on mine are just terrible. You know, this is my 6, 7, 8-year-old self that had these cards, and I didn't take good care of them. I didn't know anything about condition. You just wanted to have the card. You didn't even think about condition. Never heard of grading or anything like that back then. It was just a thrill to have the card. If your friend had one you wanted, you just traded for it. You didn't care about the condition. A much simpler time. All right, and then found a couple presidents cards. No idea how I got these. Dwight Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy. Found some Planet of the Apes cards. They've, you know, redone things. This would be the original series from the 70s, and I know they've redone movies and such a lot more recently. And then finally, Elvis cards. Of course, with a lot of initials written on them. This would have been late 70s, I believe, also. I do remember getting these. You know, when you go into we had a little store, maybe I'll show it sometime, that my brother and I could ride our bicycles to without going across any busy streets. Little convenience store called Quick Check. And we would go in there and they'd have baseball, football, basketball, Elvis, and then these other stuff, Star Wars. You know, just pick your favorite movie or your favorite sport and you could get some cards. So that's what I've got for today, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend ahead of you here. Hope you enjoyed these non-sports cards. Let me know if you collected any of these or have any of these. I'd be curious to know if these are of interest to people. Are they even popular? Should I just throw them? I don't know. I'm not interested in them for long term, that's for sure. They're a good flashback to my childhood, but that's about it. So, hey, if you're watching this and haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I'm closing in on 200 subscribers. That'd be really great to hit that number pretty soon. So take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.